Hey.
Right now I feel like I'm in a rut, I'll be honest. I find myself only talking about Spider-Man and Invincible in my videos. I want to branch out, talk about my other favourite media like PTA and his Genius, Daredevil, X-Men 97, Rob Pattinson's Batman, Nolan, Stranger Things Downfall, and a whole lot more. But once again I find myself writing a script about this show, but now it's season 4. Season 4 at the time of writing this is done, dusted, no more Invincible Wednesdays that partner new releases of The Boys and Born Again, and my god that's a shame. We know Invincible was great, special even, and those first 3 seasons were unforgettable. If you were like me, then you shamelessly spread the word about how much you love the show, how much everyone else needs to watch this show. It's rare I get a feeling like that, a feeling where something has had such an impact on me where every conversation involves bringing it up. Season 3 released weekly on a Thursday, and I would try get home as quickly as I could like I was Red Rush, only to have my head pressed together with the excruciating pain flowing through each nerve with the amount of ads. Like, is that even legal? Point is, season 3 of Invincible, when it was coming out, along with the 2 previous seasons I had thoroughly enjoyed, with the first being my second favourite season of television of all time, this is number 1 by the way, was amazing. I bought the Conquest and Invincible War comic and endlessly waited for a release date for season 4. I did some research and I did know the general gist of this season. The Viltrumite War, a war that's been teased since season 1. The Viltrumites were finally going to act and take back control of nearly the entire galaxy. And at the centre of it all, Thrag, the big bad. The guy, someone who if you've looked into Invincible lore slightly you would know. And well, the season's over, all 8 episodes are out, and I've got to say, Invincible season 4 feels off. Now what does that mean, it feels off? Well, I gotta tell you, even I don't know what it means, but I got a couple of ideas. When the episodes dropped, I didn't get that adrenaline rush like I used to. The need to know what was going to unfold in one of my favourite stories. When those episodes dropped, there was no craze about the post-credit scene of any episode, nor a moment which I'd fixate and analyse for many days. When those episodes dropped, I didn't feel any shared over-the-top fanboy excitement I've associated with the show. Point is, when those episodes dropped, there was a shift in the energy towards the show. Something felt off about it all. I gotta start off by saying I knew mostly of what was to come from this season, that being the Viltrumite War, one of the biggest events that take place in the whole of Invincible, an event which I, upon researching, I didn't care for. And I think a big part of that is how disconnected it is from everything, and the show personified that. Most of this season is in space, and I think that's one of my problems. Invincible has spent 3 seasons building a world that feels lived in, breathed in. Every side character, every building, every citizen on the street feels so connected to the world of Invincible, and its absence is so noticeable. I don't feel the stakes anymore. I don't feel the destruction. Every fight in space, bar a couple, feels kind of empty. The possible consequence of a Viltrumite punch feels weightless. The season 1 finale, Anissa, Conquest, hell even the smaller conflicts like Powerplex hit twice as hard. A train full of people, a cruise ship, a beach, a mother and her child being collateral damage will always hit harder than armies going against each other in space. The responsibility and burden of being a protector weighs even heavier when you're unable to keep those safe around you. This is shown off in nearly every single piece of action in the first 3 seasons, each punch landing twice as hard. You can't tell me that a moment like this will ever come close to Chicago, the destruction of thousands of lives purely because they were there at the time. There isn't anything they have to be cautious of destroying or someone to splat, it feels so carefree. There isn't anything worth protecting. Well, Mark has to protect one thing. Oliver doesn't really grow this season or learn any lessons. That's all I have to say about him. I won't go into, how much I despise every second of screen time and the fact that he's the bane of my life. Someone who I do want to talk about though is Thrag. Grand Regent Thrag is the leader of Viltrum and by far the strongest character in the verse. And I think he might be a little too OP. I think they've done this to bring the people who don't know anything about the comics up to speed about how insane this guy is. If you've read a comic covering Thrag or even researched him, you would understand his power and position in the world of Invincible, because he is at the top. You will have been watching and itching to see him on the big screen. However, all the non-comic readers have absolutely zero idea who this dude is. His name is mentioned in episode 1 and the show really tries pushing the idea that he's an unstoppable force. It's different because in the comics that idea is naturally shown to us, which works in a reading format. You gotta stay with me here. In a television format, however, it's much more difficult to do this as we have 8 episodes to show his true power. The comic fans would have revolted if Thrag wasn't done right, and to faithfully adapt his, introduction in just 8 episodes wouldn't work. Therefore, he is the most overpowered antagonist compared to his opponent ever. Not a single scratch. Now, the non-comic fans are aware not to mess with this guy. The people who already know Thrag finally got what they wanted, and you're left with this small amount of losers who are still complaining. Me.
How are you?
I love Thrag this season, more on that in a bit, but him being so strong is only going to hurt later on. In case you have no idea about the future Invincible, I'm going to spoil what will happen next season and the seasons after, so I'll put on the screen when to skip to. Mark becomes much more stronger and resilient the next time him and Thrag fight, where Mark actually wins. However, to use the chart, this is the initial gap between Mark and Thrag when they first fight in space. Even if we keep Thrag the same power from what we've seen in the show so far, and then we increase Mark to the power he's at after beating Thrag in the comics, this is still, in my opinion, the gap. The nerf Thrag will undergo in the next season or 2 will cause uproar. But not from me, as I've already accepted this. He wasn't even fazed by one hit, one attack, one damn punch in episode 7, and then in the finale the guy doesn't blink after a combo. Enough of the complaining. I'm not trying to completely disservice this season, because it's not a bad season of television by any stretch of the imagination. I got tons of positives, most notably the Viltrumite War itself. I still have my complaints about it, but I thought it was so interesting with the dynamics between Thedas and Thrag, the Viltrum Empire and its backstory. Episode 5 and 7 are outstanding episodes. The great rematch between Mark and Conquest, where Mark is holding on for dear life, even if his guts are being slowly dragged out of his body. I mean, what the fuck. It shows Mark's growth in maturity in his fighting style, almost like he's been reminiscing and waiting to do this whole ordeal again. He doesn't dare flinch or loosen his grip around Conquest's neck, and it makes my skin crawl. I also may have complained about the lack of excitement surrounding the season, however for 5 and 7 the conversations coming from them were so refreshing. I was shouting at my TV, rooting for Mark to quite frankly beat the asterisk surrounding his first win versus Conquest. Eve helped him, without Eve he never would have won. What about this? Then episode 7 came and changed the game. Thrag finally got the respect he deserved, and every time he came on screen he wasn't sure he was going to make it. The visceral violence on display had me on the edge of my seat. Oliver got the humbling he deserved. God, I hate him. And I kid you not, I screamed at my TV when Nolan got fisted. Thrag's care for Viltrum is so fascinating to me. Tears flood his eyes at the destruction as he doesn't know a life without a kingdom, something to certify dominance across the galaxy, even with only 50 of his brothers and sisters. I believe what he says to Nolan about fighting other Viltrumites. He genuinely wants to find a way for him and Nolan to become a team again, a family. Him not killing Mark says so much about his character. He's thinking about the bigger picture, much bigger than the rest of the Viltrumites. They see them as an obstacle, but he sees them as an opportunity. And none of this would be possible without the voice acting of Lee Pace.
Emperor Argall, you are avenged!
Lee Pace was cast as Thrag back in October. Remember that little event thing and the guy came out of nowhere? How cool was that?
Lee Pace!
He was in Hobbit and also played Ronan in Guardians 1. Remember that villain? The casting received a mostly positive reception, and in the trailer he had a line or two, and this seemed like the dream. When episode 6 came, the fans lost their minds. There was so much hate and jokes being thrown at the casting of Thrag over a couple of lines he said, and there was genuine outrage. And I too fell into that trap. I mean, it's hilarious, it is. But I'd seen this exact script before with Jeffrey Dean Morgan voicing Conquest. A line or two which doesn't showcase his true ability and doesn't give him a near close enough opportunity to make a mark in this universe, where the fans immediately revolt, shout to the world about how they've ruined their favourite show after a misplaced casting, because an evil, muscly character doesn't have the deepest voice of all time. Then the switch up comes. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is perfect casting. He brings such gravitas to the role. The same applies to Lee Pace and Thrag, because all I saw from episode 6 was hate and pure disgust, but now he's everyone's favourite character. And the fans, oh boy, here we go. I think one of the biggest factors in why I think Invincible Season 4 feels off are the fans. I've came to the conclusion that Invincible cannot win. And I don't mean Mark keeps getting beaten the shit out of every season, no. I mean the writers, the directors, the animators, even the social media team for Invincible cannot win. I see so much hate, so much complaining towards Invincible these days. And yeah, you could say I'm doing the same thing, but I'm really not. I'm not saying this all with spite in a way to try and hurt the feelings of Robert Kirkman. The fact this to me is an off-season but is still good TV is intended in the biggest compliment possible. I see genuine hate towards the show from its own fans. The animation is nitpicked and analysed for the pure goal of finding something wrong with it. There's no intention of enjoying the frame, it's a mass focus of searching for the issues, and I think that's a real shame. It's a real shame because I can appreciate what they're trying to do with the animation. When there are these grand action sequences, the animation becomes fluid and stylish, but in its much more reserved and intimate moments, the animation takes a back seat. I prefer it this way because then the frames hit much harder. They aren't something we're accustomed to. We don't need each skin cell hand-drawn when a conversation takes place. I've seen people drop the show for this reason. They won't conform into the machine of PNG images flying across the screen. I feel like I can't enjoy the visuals anymore without the fact that they spend more of their budget on casting than the animation being shoved down my throat. Invincible decided to break away from the comics for the first time this season with an episode dedicated to dark blood and hell. I really didn't like this episode, but not because they tried doing their own thing, but I just found it boring and nothing to really say. I like this step from the team, trying to break away from the mold, but it has to be interesting. The reception to that episode was pretty poor, as it should have been, but everyone seems to be blaming it for quote-unquote filler, which it technically is. But those same people complain that the show is too scared to stop adapting the comics, too afraid to take a leap of faith and create something of their own. It makes no sense. Listen to this. Has there been a part of Invincible so far which is objectively not great? It's 99.9% likely to be adapted from the comics. These people blame the show for this. Fine. But it was the comics that wrote the part that way. You could argue then that the show shouldn't adapt it into the series. But this is a faithful adaptation, no? So they have to have that part in because then everyone will get mad at the show for not being faithful. But wait. If the show knows it's not a good part and they are adding it to the story anyway, then why not strive to improve it? You could improve it, but people still complain. I've seen them do this with the train scene from season 1 episode 8. Ludicrous. So you can't improve it, you can't leave it out, but you don't want it in your show in the first place. But if you do leave it out, then you're not sticking to the comics. But if you stick to the comics, it's boring because then we already know what's happening. But if you... Invincible cannot win. No matter what they do, it's not good enough, and I've never felt so strongly about it when it comes to season 4. The hate, the complaints, the arguments and comparisons make me feel unable to enjoy my show. The finale came and I didn't care, I felt burnt out, and that's such a shame because Invincible is one of my favourite pieces of media out there, and I don't get excited for it anymore. Of course I want to watch it, I still feel some joy, but it comes nowhere near that fanboy who would rush home for season 3 weekly releases. The finale's grown on me, an epilogue to the Viltrumite War which cues us all up into the current state of the verse, but that's not enough for everybody. They want the action, but the response to that is cooked attention span. Everyone loves to see the rise of something, love to be there when it takes off and see the growth. When it makes it, however, and succeeds, all anyone can do is urge for its downfall and see the ultimate demise. It's not fair, man, it really isn't. Season 4 of Invincible to me doesn't feel like the Invincible I love, the show I find comfort and confided in, and instead is forced upon me with a hanging asterisk. I guess after all of this ramble, what I'm really trying to say is that Invincible Season 4 feels off, and that's a real damn shame.